second at bat, big time homer, coming around and Pops is, my dad standing up and fist up, man. And it just I broke down, and it was an emotional moment, but
nothing like stars from a paradise. Don't care, cause there's magic in the air tonight. Pretty girl in my ear, she the rarest type. Heaven on earth is right here tonight. I'm in the dream state. I'm in the dream state.
Welcome back to the Reddcast. Listen, in all-time history, I continue to say it. Never ends, just continues. The episodes continue to fire. The journey, the show goes on. Today, we got a very good friend of mine, very close friend, and his story is one that I think a lot of people are going to resonate with and find a lot of inspiration from through the ups and downs. We've been through a lot of them together as friends, and it's kind of crazy to think because it happened a little bit later in our lives that we became as close as we are now. I'm really looking forward to having him tell the story, and as I say, give the finer details of that which he has gone through. We got my very good friend, brother Dan Valerio. How are we doing?
doing well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, this is amazing. I mean, we since the beginning. I mean, how many times you say, buddy, we got to get a podcast going? You know what I'm saying?
I've been saying it for years.
So finally, we made it happen. Only 2 hours after we were supposed to. Thank God for Corey Frank. He's a trencher, dude. He just keeps going. So and thanks for allowing us to use the apartment. I mean, this is nice, buddy. Huh?
Yeah, this is great.
We're gonna get a little Delon cameo too. He might pop in while we're in the middle of the episode. We'll get him a little shot. We'll get a little Delon cameo, baby. How about it? But so just to fill people in a little bit on on our relationship, we knew each other through baseball. We met at Condon School of Baseball's camp that he does every summer. I think that was the first time we met. And we met there, probably saw each other a few times in the cages, training and stuff like that. I'm just a few years older, but then we ended up playing against each other in a summer league here in Jersey. That was my first year with Coach Fiore. Shout out to him. Unbelievable coach. And that summer was really fun. It's local. It's good competition, and then we end up both going to college north. I mean, we were in college at that point. I think you had been a year or two in. I was going into my junior year after that. So that's kind of where we end up, leaving. And then after you end up coming back from college is where we reconnect and it that's where our relationship, we get, much closer as friends. So I guess if you just want to, fill people in, kind of just, let everybody know where you're from, what you do now, what you've been doing, and then we can kind of get into the whole, all those finer details of the story.
Yeah, the journey. So I grew up in Eatontown, New Jersey. Was born and raised there, and then, actually I grew up in Ocean, and then, third grade, my parents, we moved Eatontown, and then, high school came, and my parents wanted to send me to Red Bank Catholic, so I gave that a shot. Give RBC a shot, and just we'll go into the details of that in a little while. But RBC to Monmouth Regional, and then 3 different universities, and then 3 different pro teams. It's been a long journey, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of persevering, regrouping, getting back on track, and then into really adult life. I always had really good support. My parents always really supported me, but there's some things that really transitioned and, made me grow up at a rapid pace. So I'd love to, talk about that. And ultimately what I'm doing now is just everything that I've been through, everything that I experienced, and just being able to give that back to the kids. And it took me a while to mature as a player and grow as a player and develop as a player. But if I can be the coach that I'm not going to say that I didn't have, but the coach that is really in the trenches with the guys to really accelerate their development at a fast pace. And that's what I feel like I've been put on this earth to do, is just help young athletes, this next generation, not just on the field, but off the field.
Yeah. And over the last few years now, it's been that long. It's like you've been doing it. and helping these kids. And I've got to see it in action sometimes too. I mean, when we were training together, I got to see, like, you were doing lessons. We were training in the facility. Yeah. You know, you'd have a lesson before we got after, before we would hit. And, you know, we're going to get into all that. But I guess when you were playing, you know, we both grew up playing baseball. Was college baseball always something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I didn't know where, I didn't know how. I just always knew that I was going to play college baseball.
And you finished at Monmouth Regional. Was that where you went and graduated high school?
Yeah.
So out of Monmouth Regional, where do you go to college?
So I went to Gloucester Community College.
Okay, and you played there how many years?
2 years.
2 years. And so out of there, or in high school, before you got to what is it? How do you say it?
Gloucester.
I know Brookdale, buddy. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Mercer County.
No, it's Rowan College at Gloucester County, sponsored by
the Woodworks.
Sponsored by Rowan University.
The fucking Woodworks, buddy. I swear, buddy. So fucking.
That is in the wilderness.
So you go down there out in the boonies.
Really, on a serious note, they've been to like 20 World Series.
They're good. They're really good. They are. They're really. It's just funny, but you know, they are down in the boonies, down in the Woodworks, South Jersey.
Sewell, New Jersey.
Yeah. I mean, they're. You're talking Rowan. That's Glassboro, right? So I mean, that's down there. But
the women pack dips, I think.
I'd say you're right, probably. But so you go there. We're coming out of high school. Do you think you were, you know, because you end up playing at a very elite level. Mm-hmm. You know, when do you start swinging it like you swing it now? You know, when do you start really accelerating at the game and start to look at some other options?
Yeah, so, you know, all of high school, I had this recruiting service, and you know, they're telling what to events to go to, and you know, my father's paying a lot of money. And to ultimately, at the end of it, to realize that, like, you know, you need to have good grades to be able to go to these Division I, Division II programs. Like, it's a requirement.
Yeah.
And I didn't really focus on that part. So that's the thing. That was the weak link. You know, I just wasn't – I was just so focused on the game. And, you know, it pays off, but ultimately – senior year comes and I'm still not committed. I'm not getting any traction with colleges. I mean, no offers. You know, a couple D2s showed me some love, but nothing like, we want you, nothing like that. So I'm like, okay, I have to go the junior college route. So my dad and I packed the car up. We go take a tour of South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and we look at some junior colleges there. And then on the way home, my dad's like, how about junior colleges in New Jersey? I'm like, oh, that's a good point. Like, let me see who the best one is. And Gloucester County popped up. You know, they beat Brookdale. That's how it came up. My dad was like, you know, we know Brookdale because we live in Monmouth County.
Yeah.
But my dad's like, who's the best in that conference? And Gloucester came up. And actually, it's a funny story. Like, the coach that we contacted and recruited me, he was like, come, we want you. A month before we're supposed to report, without even telling anyone, gets another job and leaves. So now it's like the guy that recruited me is in Italy. So we're like, what's going on? And you know, Rob Valley, very instrumental in my career. He would always say this. He would always say, you'll play your best baseball when you leave here. And like, when you're in the moment, like, you're like, what's this guy talking about? You know, like, and it's funny, like, my coaching style kind of emulates him a lot. Like, he's very direct. He's very to the point, calls you higher, makes you better. But in the moment, it's a lot. In the moment, it's like, do I even want to, like, this guy, like, I don't even know how to handle this. I don't even know how to handle what he's saying. But it's just crazy. You see how my story unfolds. He gave me a shot. Like, he really gave me a shot. I was 17 years old, which is young. I was young for I was 17 playing with grown men. He stuck me at third base. I made 26 errors my freshman year. Never took me out of the 2-hole. Allowed me to get all the at-bats. Allowed me to grow. You know, he allowed me to play over a sophomore that was there. Because, you know, junior college baseball, only freshman and sophomore. It's a 2-year school. So, it's a short window.
Yeah.
It's a short window, especially for a kid that was unrecruited, had no path. I had one thing. I had a work ethic. Work ethic that and like you said, like, I had this dream. Like, I just wanted to play college baseball. I wanted to play ball as long as I could. And, Coach Valley gave me that shot.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the time when you're young, you don't realize until kind of a few years down the road or after, like once it's gone, how good you had it. And then I think a lot of coaches who are coaching at the advanced level and someone like that, they know that it's going to come around, in your mind. So they're not going to slow up. They're not going to, it's almost like they're not giving up on you, when they continue to hit you, like they continue to hit it hard. They continue to coach like that. And in the moment you said it, you're like, why? Like, what the heck? Why am I going through this? And you're always questioning what's going on. But then, a few years down the line, it kind of all makes sense. It comes together. So where do you go out of there? Because it's a different college before you get to SAU, correct?
Yes. So now after my freshman year, I was all conference. I had a nice year. And I'm a freshman. We're playing at Brookdale. We're playing Cumberland. That's the rival. Man on third to send us to the World Series. Tie ball game. I hit a 3-hopper to the shortstop. Great break at third. Guys safe at home. Walk it off. We head to the World Series in North Carolina. We fell short. We lost. Sophomore year comes, and I led the country in doubles. I hit 28 doubles. I homered 8 times. It was a good year, but still, I still wasn't getting that love. I still wasn't getting the love and the notoriety. But I'm grateful for North Carolina Central. Like, at some point it switched. I went from, like, it didn't matter what division I played at, but I really wanted to play Division I. Like, I really wanted to test myself, and some other schools were coming up and not giving me the, they weren't offering me anything good that was worth it. But North Carolina Central in Durham, right in between Duke and North Carolina, gave me a great deal. They gave me a great deal. They believed in me. They waited for me to pass my 5 classes to get that degree. I got my associate's degree. And, so I went to North Carolina Central.
And then how long were you there for?
About 3 months.
3 months. So here's this spot. So this is good for people to put it into perspective. Here's this spot. Finally, they give you a chance. They give you a good offer, meaning they believe in you, and they're showing what you've wanted, because you're putting up the numbers. You're playing well. You haven't had anybody that's like really wanted you.
No.
So, they're not making the offers, and you're questioning why. These guys make that offer. You feel like you finally, hit the right spot.
Yeah.
And then you go down there, and you're there for 3 months. Now, what happened in those 3 months?
So I get down there, and this was my downfall up until this point. Like, I wore my heart on my sleeve, right? Like, my identity was baseball. Okay, even though I'm not getting that love, the work ethic was relentless. Every single day of my life was hitting. High school for 4 years, hitting every day, working in my basement, trainers, coaches. Like, I worked so hard. At junior college, I'm overtraining almost, right? But I just didn't handle failure the best. Like, I was just like a great person when I 3 for 4 day, driving some runs. I'm a great guy to be around. But an 0 for 4, it's like, watch out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so just very up and down emotionally. And, I get to North Carolina Central, and I'm going to be the opening day second baseman. Like, I solidified my spot. The money they gave me, they wanted me to be an impact player, middle of the order kind of guy. And the schedule is great. I mean, we're playing big time schools, and I was really excited. Pro day comes, and now I'm trending. Now I'm putting out some size. I'm getting in a weight room where it's a Division I weight room. It's a different atmosphere. It's different. But with that different, I didn't know how to handle it really well. So now I start venturing out and, partying and exposed to some different things for the first time that I wasn't exposed to in New Jersey and in junior college and high school, because I was always just very straight, very focused, driven. And I got a little distracted, but also very serious, just no balance, really. No balance at NC Central. But anyway, my parents come for Parents Weekend. This is the end of the fall season. It's wrapping up. Everything's good until, my parents came down, and I was really tired. This tiredness comes, and I'm like, what is this? And then my parents leave, and, so many unanswered questions. Like, these doctors, I'm getting blood work, I'm getting tests done, could not tell me what was wrong. So in that time, yoga, some meditation practices would get me through the day. So now I get to the point where it's so bad that all I know is baseball. All I know is just going to school to be able to play baseball. I have nothing. I literally have nothing. Coach is trying to put his arm around me and encourage me to try to stay and figure it out. But whatever is going on is transitioning me out. So basically I come home for winter break. I have to look myself in the mirror and basically be like, they want me to come back. They want me to try. So now I'm on winter break at NC Central, still dealing with all this stuff. And it's really hard. It's really hard, and it's not easy, and I felt like an outcast. My teammates are questioning it, and, what's going on with Dan, because, it's just I wasn't really a part of the team now. Yeah. But I do go back to NC Central. I try to give it a shot for that spring season. Now, this is it's crazy, but it's unique. So I get back, right, and my coach is being real supportive. He's a great man, but I think he was just getting tired of because the things that I was battling, you couldn't see. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So it was everything on the inside was in turmoil. On the outside, I looked healed. On the outside, now I had energy again. But now I'm walking 5-6 months with anxiety, with depression, not really knowing how to handle it, and starting to break out of this stigma of that my identity was the sport. So, opening day gets near, and we're opening up with Army. And now this is my junior season, and I'm supposed to be the opening day second baseman. But a day before opening day, I don't tell my coach that I was going to go to the doctor's appointment, so I showed up late to practice. So now he benches me for game 1. I was like, oh, okay. He was supporting me the whole time, but there's a reason for this, and it really does work out well. But game 2 comes, and that was Friday, game 1, so it's now Saturday doubleheader, and my dad was down, and I told my dad, if I'm DHing tomorrow, because now the freshman that filled in had a great opening day, homered twice.
Oh, boy.
So now he, on day 2, is playing second base, and I'm DH. My name is written in the lineup. I see that I'm DHing. I go, Coach, thank you for everything, but I have to leave. So now, because if I took one at bat, there goes my eligibility. So now, because I knew that I wouldn't have made the whole season, because I really was battling stuff that every day was just a process to just be able to do the simple things. And, just really went from a kid that was so highly motivated, so inspired to really just dream big and work so hard, to just really the day-to-day was monotonous, and I had no vision, and I was really confused.
Yeah, when those types of things are going on in your mind, you mentioned it. You said these are things that not everyone else can see, right? So only you know what's going on, and you're going through this. You're down there at school, and as much as you can call your parents or whoever your support system is, at the end of the day, you said it. You attached your whole identity to baseball. Yeah. All your teammates know you as this guy. You're going to be the starting second baseman. You're putting up numbers. They see you in the fall. That's who they know you as. Yeah. Then this whole thing happens, and none of them can see what's actually going on in your mind. Yeah. So in your mind, like you're not the same person, but they can't see that. They can only see you from the outside, and they see that you're not the same, but they can't see that you're asking all these questions in your mind and trying to get through something. So now to them and to the coach, they're getting on with the season. They're going to, play it out, and he's got to put who he thinks is going to get him the wins and all that. Definitely. He's got his job. And so, but in your mind, it's so, I want to point this out, like game 2, you see your name in the lineup as a DH. To kind of think ahead there is pretty impressive. Like, it's because you saw that you were going to be DH, and you realized, and this is something else that no one else probably realized in that dugout. You coach whoever that you're like, okay, I'm not going to make it the whole season. Like, there's no way. Everything kind of just flipped. Yeah. And it's almost like, I guess, seeing that, and maybe you could tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but seeing the DH and your name kind of flipped the switch. And then you kind of saw it on the outside from a different perspective, and you're like, okay, that made you realize. And it's when you just told me that part, because you've told me this before, but it totally, like, I totally forgot about this. But to be able to kind of embrace what was going on at that moment and say, okay, I need to reset. It's not a lot of people would be able to do that. No. People would just kind of go forward with it and say, all right, let me see what happens and keep going. Yeah. And that ended up, I think, coming back so heavily to your advantage. Like, down the road when we get to that part of the story, people are going to see. But just that little detail, and then, talking to your dad and saying, listen, if I'm DH and, I think I need to go somewhere else. And I guess the coach not really knowing what you're going through and being able to understand that. Again, he's got a coach too. He's Definitely. Got his job. Yeah. But that was not going to be the best situation for you to be in. No. For you to realize that and kind of remove yourself is something that I think is very difficult for people to do. What was it? Just the fact that was it a feeling like inside combined with seeing like that whole DH thing and like, how were you able in that moment to make that decision and say, I need to get out of here? Like, what was the feeling that you had at that moment?
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, I'm in uniform. Like, I already took BP. Like, Army's right there. My dream is here. Like, I'm going to go take my first ever Division I at bat. Now, you're right. Like, how do I make that decision to pivot? And I know that I'm walking away, and I know that, like, if I do walk away, it's to the abyss. Like, it's really to, like, into a deeper depression because now I have nothing. So in that moment, I mean, what I said to my dad, right, was like, yeah, like, if I'm DHing, I'm leaving. And what it was is just knowing, like, years and years of how people just overlooked me. And that's what it was. Once again, being overlooked. And I just wasn't, now I started to have a voice. And I'm standing my ground. And, like, I'm not, like, I've been going through a lot. And, like, to just try to stay here and just have every day be a dogfight, I knew that I needed to go home, and really that's what happened. I packed my stuff, and my pops was surprised, but we just head back to New Jersey. And we never looked back. I mean, I waited. I withdrew from the university that Monday.
That's insane.
And that's what it was. And it really go home now to no college anymore and no college baseball.
Yeah. Which was really your outlet, your whole life. Yeah. But now you got this going on in your head, right? And this anxiety, this depression. So when you get back to New Jersey, what happens there? Like, because this is continues on, correct?
Continues on, it does.
Okay.
Yep. So what happens there is now I go meet with some people, to try to get to the bottom of what actually took place. And it's funny, doctors are like, let's look at your diet. I was always in good shape. I was blessed, like, to have good genetics and stuff. Like, I always was lean, and they just, nobody could give me an answer. I mean, one doctor in North Carolina told me it was overtraining syndrome, which basically you just, over the years, you deplete yourself. And it leads to some depression and anxiety. But what I'm about to tell you next is really what I feel ultimately was the call. And it was the eye opening and the transition of really what was going on. And you know, like I said earlier, I was doing the yoga, and in the moment, it made me feel better. But you know, as I go and I kind of try to get to because I just had one question, like why? You know, really, I was just trying to figure out why was I battling the things I was battling? Why was I just like every day just turmoil of just so over like just hyper focus of like the bad, right? Really, like that's what it was. Like I always like had focus of my dreams and goals, and I say something very. I want to highlight something like my dreams and goals. Like for up until this point, I was so focused on me, and I was so focused on my career and everything like that. Nothing could get in the way, and that's the thing. Like I think I was being humbled, you know, and as my life goes on, I get promoted to things, but what I'm going to tell you, like, and how it happens, like, I get into things, but I'm always humbled, and I'm always brought back down to this place of, like, no, like, you need to make sure your character is good enough to stay there, and basically, I'm searching, and one day, I'm driving in Howell, New Jersey, and I passed this church on my left, and now growing up, I grew up Catholic, and I went to church on Sundays, and then it turned into just holidays, and then it turned into nothing. So then I had no faith. I just had my work ethic and my baseball career in school. See this beautiful church, and I go in, and basically, you know, I meet the pastor and stuff like that, and now it's a little different than I'm used to. You know, a Christian church, like the worship music's playing. I'm like, wow, like this is something. And now at the time, like I'm in counseling now, so now I'm talking to someone about my feelings and stuff. So that's new. But basically, you know, I'm in open door church, and worship comes on, and you know, the pastor gives a word, Pastor Tice, and yeah, he led me to the Lord in 2017. You know, I gave my life to Jesus, and from that moment, that walk, I didn't know what I was walking into. I didn't really understand it, and that's a journey in itself that I didn't understand the difference between Catholicism and Christianity, you know, but the Lord gives me more discernment, more people that are coming and just trying to do life with me. You know, that's really what it, you know, growing up, and my father was a great man. He always provided for us, but support system, to the core, like where people just really wanted to do life with me for me. Like I always had people that like wanted to do life with me, but like very transactional. And so to be in this, like where people just cared about my heart and where my heart was at. And that's all Jesus cares about, is like where my heart's at, which was really like transforming. And you see that, and you see that over the next 4, 5, 6 months where I was being discipled and being like healed and transformed.
And so at this point, you haven't had anything that has worked in terms of making you feel better.
No.
Like this is all still going on in your mind, this anxiety, depression, and that question, why? It's so, I mean, so many people are going through that. So many people have gone through that. Like when that type of thing happens, I think it's awesome that you pointed that out. Is like you're always asking why. Why is this happening? And there's nothing that's giving you the answer. You're going to all these doctors, all these places, you're talking to people, and it just keeps happening. The feeling's not going away. So you're always asking why. You go to this church, and you get this feeling of, I want to say, I guess, relief. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that's, from there on out, did you start going to church like every week, like more often? Yeah. Like how did it go from there? Once you realized that, you know, faith and, you know, Jesus, like turning to that and to him was going to help you, you kind of just followed that and kept going with it?
I did, yeah.
And you were going every week?
Every week, and Bible studies and, you know, men's studies and serving. Yeah.
And so you're picking up more and more as it relates to faith.
Yes.
And now you're starting to feel better.
I am.
And so how long does it take because it's not something where you can find something like, say faith or the answer, and it just goes away. It's going to continue on. It's going to hold. When it's something like that where you don't know the answer to it and why it's happening, it's something that will just keep happening. But where along the way, or how long into it, do you realize, okay, me turning over to faith is starting to get me over to the other side?
So, reading scripture and starting to read and write and kind of like just expand my capacity and perspective on life. That's really what was going on. Like everything was just changing, but also at the same time I stopped striving. So like I stopped working so hard. Right? Like what the Lord showed me is I don't need to work for anything. Like what Jesus did on the cross, like, the Lord sent his son for us, so we're saved through grace. And that right there was hard to believe, because growing up, and Catholicism, work. And I was burnt out. You see what I'm saying? Like I was to the point where I was just like Lord, have everything. Like I don't know what else. I'm trying to get all these answers. I didn't choose to follow Christ, but at some point it was just the only option. And it's like he was like calling me, like it was a call. And that's just, as the story goes on, I like keep sharing more, but this is April. I give my life to the Lord in April now. I left NC Central in February. So now I have no school. I'm not in school. I'm not in college. And, now my parents are pressing me like, what are you going to do? They didn't want to keep supporting me. And like, like that's just the common sense thing. Like I got to do something, right? But yeah, like the questions of why and stuff, they started to go away. So it was really cool. Like, just making that decision, getting more clarity in it. And yeah, having some really good, like just strong men, like just encouraging me and just like really coming alongside me. That that was really big in that time.
And are you playing like any baseball at this point, or doing anything with baseball?
No, so I don't start doing anything until the summer. So then that it's about 6 months where I did nothing.
Yeah, from the beginning of the year till all the way in summer. That is June, July. You get into the 6th, 7th month of the year.
Yeah.
And then so once you get to that point in the summer, you've seen that having this faith and getting back into it, is starting to help. It has helped. Now you're at a point where you can start doing things again.
Yes.
Like that question why is starting to fade a little bit as you go.
Yeah.
And so throughout the summer, do you start playing baseball again then in the summer?
I do, yeah. I start playing for the summer team, Matrix Baseball, and what a blast. This guy, Glennie Fredericks, he coaches at Spotswood. Just like a really good man. Like he loves the game and he keeps it really fun and he allows us to really just play, Matrix Baseball. Like a lot of people know it, and it's just, Glenn does a great job. It's just a blast. So that was.
And as you're playing, you're continuing to go to church and all this, and do what you were doing, those practices that were helping you.
So summer I'm playing, doing well again, and feeling good. I stopped like working out because I just wanted to preserve my energy.
Okay.
My dad just kept asking like, "What are you gonna do?" And I really didn't know, and the common sense thing was like not leave the state, and not really step out. But last time I stepped out and tried to leave the state to go, and I just wasn't equipped for it, but I feel like I'm on this new journey and following the Lord, and I was starting to have faith, and I was starting to have courage, and he was healing me from the inside, healing my heart, and just kind of giving me a different whole perspective on it. So I started taking visits, and now I can't go Division I to Division I. I'd have to sit out another year. I can't go Division I to Division II. I'd have to sit out another year. And at that point in my head, I'm like, I might as well not play anymore. So now NAIA, Had no idea what it was. But Faulkner University in Alabama, powerhouse. They go to the World Series every year. I took a I took a visit there, and my buddy Wilkins, he's a New Jersey guy, pitcher. I went and stayed with him on the visit. So they end up offering me. Yet again, back at that place of where, like, okay, and what in that conference, back at how I found Gloucester, where I started my journey in college. Who was the top? And Southeastern came up, and they're in Lakeland, Florida, and I reached out to their coaching staff. I said, hey, I just took a visit here at Faulkner. You guys know each other. And they said, yeah, come take a visit. And now, ironically enough, it's a Christian university. So that's weird. I give my life to Jesus, and then he's leading me to a school that, is a Christian school. So that's unique, and it's cool. And, once I got there on the visit, I knew right away. I knew that was the place for me, and it's beautiful. I was like, it's a beautiful place, and it's really, I felt really good about it. So came home, and I told my parent, I'm going to Southeastern, and they matched the scholarship because they don't want to lose people to Faulkner. They match up all the time, and so, that was the new journey. I made the decision I was going to go to Southeastern, and that's it. So.
And this was that next fall. So after this summer, you're talking.
After the
so
summer.
You were going on the visit during the summer and ready. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then you pick up that fall, go down to SEU.
Yeah.
And you're right that the Christian university, when things start to feel right and make sense, I think you kind of get put into situations where you feel whether it's right or wrong. And, you go to that first school and you're like, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leads to you going down to SEU and checking that place out.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And then you end up down there. Now you get down there in the fall. And what's going on with you mentally? In terms of that, the anxiety, depression, has that gone away? Is that still here and there? Are you still working through it with your faith? What's going on in your head?
Yeah, so I just gave it all to him. I really just and I was really set free from it. I really was. I felt good again. I felt like I had life again. I was really focused on the diet and taking time off, taking rest days, and I was really feeling good and connected with the community great. I connected with the teammates right away. Great. It was great. It really was. It was the right decision. I knew that I was supposed to be there, and I was led there, and it was really, really great.
Yeah, there's nothing better than when you end up in a place where you feel you're supposed to be. Everything clicks, and you kind of, it gives you a clear mind. Like it clears things for you, and it's like, okay, no matter what, now I can move forward, I can work, and I can kind of get, in your situation, back to who I was.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when you go through something like that, you lose a little bit of your identity. Like you lose who you are, or not even lose it, but like you said, you question. You're like, you could be somebody totally different. Like maybe that wasn't who you were, or maybe what you were doing wasn't what you were supposed to be doing all the time.
Yeah.
And then you get to this point and you're like, okay, everything seems to have clicked right now. Let's go. And it's a good reset. And so, so you're there in the fall, you guys are playing. What is going on back home? Like with your parents and everything, you're talking to them. Are they, they were always supportive, but you had mentioned, like, maybe I should just stay in New Jersey and stuff like that. And then you told them you're going down there. Like, you're just staying in contact with them as you're down there?
Yeah, and my dad, he was pumped, and my dad, when I was at Gloucester, never missed a game. Even North Carolina, he was going to come as much as he could, and he came on opening weekend, and he drove me, he drove me down in the fall and stuff like that. I think they came and checked out a weekend. He was pumped. He loves Florida, So it was really good. And then I went home for that winter. They didn't know what they were getting, right? So they took a chance on me. They took a referral. They never seen me play. And I did really well in the fall. I homered a couple times, and it's not a long season. You just inter-squad each other. But it's cool. In Florida, you start in January. You know, in the Northeast, you don't start till like March because it's so cold. So
Freezing.
yeah, so my winter break was really short. And now, you know, my dad, you know, so now I get the starting left field job. So I know I'm going to be a starter at Southeastern. I earned it and worked my way back, and it was really good. Really cool. Just, I felt really good there. Like, I felt great about it. And so, you know, my dad drops me back off for winter break, and now it's go time. The season's about to start rolling.
And how long do you have from when you get back to when you actually start the season? Like, are you starting practice as soon as you're back?
Yeah, we're back on the field.
And then when the season starts earlier down there, like you said.
It
So
does.
you're getting pretty much right into it.
Yeah, so end of January you start playing.
Yeah, that's early because most teams in the Northeast are starting like mid-February, like third week of February really is when they all kind of start. So you're getting right into it, start playing. And how does it go right when you, like, off the bat? Are you playing well, like everything's clicking, or what's happening?
Yeah, I think my first opening series, I got like 7 hits.
Really?
Bunch of RBI, yeah. And it really is something. Now it's something just because nothing changed. Swing never changed. I just stopped working out. I stopped trying so hard. I started having fun. And I had the Lord. Like I just had I just had such a cool perspective. And I just stopped caring so much. And I just went out and like started balling out, and first weekend goes by, I start like getting like player of the week and stuff. Really, it was just like I was like over 500 for like the first month. And then yeah, like like 4 weeks into the season, I got a call after practice one day that, yeah, my father back at home in New Jersey fell in the shower and had a massive stroke.
Holy God.
So, you know, whole life, my dad's been my support financially, just, you know, just paying for everything. Like my whole life, he had had a nice business, and yeah, he went down, and I flew home after we played Thomas in Georgia. So we were in Georgia, came home, flew home, saw him, and then, you know, I was like, Dad, like, I just gotta, you know, got a chance to see him. They got him stabilized and everything, but he was in the hospital for about 6 months.
Oh my!
So the whole season, you know, I came home and he's just battling in the hospital. So, but now, basically, just the season was for him, you know, like I really, like, I was just playing for my pops, you know, and it turns out to be a really historic season for me.
How many games were left in the season after that happened?
We had the whole season ahead of us.
Yeah, that was early in the
that
season.
was early.
Okay, so now, just to kind of put it in perspective here, like, you're having this amazing season. You start hot. Everything feels right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I homer. I'm already at like 7, 8 homers within the first like 4 weeks. I've had like one season where I homered over like 8 times. Like, so.
Yeah, so finally everything is kind of back to where it's supposed to be. You found a place where you're, you know, mentally you're back, or you're at this new place mentally where, you know, you can go forward and it's working out. You're playing well, and then you get hit with this news, which is heavy. I mean, this is heavy. I mean, your dad, just in the story alone that you've told so far, like, think about how much you mentioned him, like driving you everywhere, going to all those games. So this happens early in the season. So now you got this massive, I mean, this is huge adversity to face. So you talk to him, you know, after, you know, when you come up to visit, then you go back down and you kind of feel like, you know, this season is now for him. Like, this is, I got to play for my dad, like, who's done everything for you at this point. And baseball has been, I can relate in terms of my dad, like, being, you know, the one who, he introduced me to baseball. So, like, that was our, like, big connection. Like, we always, everything I've become, all the passion I have, all that is all from baseball. And it was because my dad, like, taught me the game. And, like, that was what we've always shared, you know. And to this day, we get to talk about it. So I can only imagine, like, I can't even imagine what that's like to go through that, you know. So you go back down, you play, and the season is pretty much the majority of it left.
Yeah.
Now, how does it go from there when you get back down? You continue to play well?
Yeah. I mean, I never missed a beat. You know, Everything I touched seemed to just leave the yard. Like, I was just driving in runs at just a rapid pace, you know. And now as the season unfolds, I finish up around like 400. I drove in the school ride, the school record for RBIs. I was at like 84. I ended up finishing a homer 17 times. Yeah, it was just a historic year, and at the end of it, we won the World Series.
That year,
2018, first time in Southeastern school history. Got rings, the whole thing. It was in Lewiston, Idaho. It was something.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, just to make it that far in general, to make it to the show, and then to win the whole thing, like the NAIA World Series. And for people who don't know, there's the NCAA, the NCAA, and then there's the NAIA. It's a different division. So that's what, when you were telling the story earlier about, you had no clue what the NAIA was. I didn't either until, like, your story when we started getting back in touch. So you come, after that season, what is the plan? Like, were you planning to go play somewhere, or were you planning to come back to Jersey so you could be with your family?
So that's the thing. Like, I have this historic year. I get All-American, and now it's like being questioned of like, what agency are you gonna go with? So that was different. For a kid that, and also like back to my dad. Like, the guy was my biggest supporter. Like you hear the ups and downs and my back against the wall multiple times, and he just never budged. Like, he just always was in my corner, always supporting me. And it was just, like deep, and it really hurt, but like that season was for him. And every game before I'd go and play, I'd always call him, and I needed, like just always encouraging him. Like, I'm going to hit one for you today. It just kept happening. I just kept hitting homers. So it was pretty cool. And then, I was, summer ball's big, so I signed to go play in the New England League, which is a great league.
Yeah, it's a great summer league.
Yeah, it's a great summer league. And, I told them if I don't hear my name called in the draft, like I need to go and hang with my parents. And it's just tough on them, go home and work a little bit, because now at this point, financially, it's a burden. Yeah. Now we move, we lost our house. Like, it's just financially, it's really tough on us. And, I didn't hear my name in the draft, which, I actually, like, I was trending. I thought I had a couple workouts and stuff. But, so I go undrafted, and I last a week in the New England League. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go home and spend time with my family. So now it's June goes by, and July, midway through July. And this is a pretty cool story. So midway through July, Dad's home, spending a great time, and he's paralyzed on the left side of his body, but praise God, he could talk, and he still has a great spirit even to this day. Like, he's still going through it, but he's just continues, even though he can't do much, he doesn't work. He still has a smile on his face, and he still has a great sense of humor. So
his spirit, dude. I mean, it's just, I just think about the stories we're going to get into, like when we get to the later part of your story. But, man, he makes me smile every time I'm with him. Like, hey, you can't help but, buddy. He's right there joking around with you. Like, he's in it. Like, he don't give a damn. Like, it's not going to stop him. He's laughing. It's like, it's the camaraderie that we have almost. Like, when we're laughing, like, it's true. It's true. But, okay, so you back home, continue. I kind of cut you off there.
Yeah, so back home, I'm working at this Italian place in Brick. Now I live in Brick, New Jersey. And I get this call from my agent. Something. But, pack your car. You're going to the Cape Cod League. And I was like, oh. Like, this. I've seen this in movies.
Yeah. Well, for anybody who doesn't know, the Cape Cod Summer League is like the league of them all. It's like the top one. Like, everybody knows, like, if you're going to the Cape to play, there's a ton of good ones, but the Cape Cod League in summer ball is like the scouts are there. That's the players of all players. Like, that's who's up there.
Yeah, it's pretty historic. Chatham Anglers, historic. And the coach texts me, Tom Holliday, which is Matt Holliday's father, and he's like, how far are you? I'm like, 5 hours. Like, I'll be there tonight. Packed the car there. I got a chance to play for just the rest of the rest of the summer, my roommate, Spencer Torkelson, big leaguer. Alex Manoah, big leaguer, was up for the Cy Young this year. Just that environment. I just had to pinch myself. Little kid. I was skinny. I was about 180 pounds. And where I came from. And just to be there. But, you know, the Lord gifted me with that. And I didn't feel, and that's the thing. I kind of doubted myself there. You know, I didn't really embrace it. I didn't really feel like I belonged, you know, so I loved it. I'm so grateful for it. But yeah, like that's another thing to know too. And I'm honest with that. Like I was like, oh, that was a big moment. Like that was a lot. And it was really, you know, it was a really great experience though, you know.
Yeah, and it's a big moment in just the fact of what was going on back home. Like just being there, like getting the opportunity to go play the Cape. And you go up there and you play, you've got what's going on back home. Now you're playing the best competition, you know, in the nation and getting an opportunity to do that. And you've got all this stuff going on in your mind, what you just described about how, you know, doubted so much, never had the opportunities, and then going through what you went through mentally, going through what you went through with your family and your father. And now you're at this place where you're at the top league playing against the best competition, getting this crazy opportunity. I'm sure it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it was. And it was kind of like humbling, and I was just like so happy to be there. Like I really was. Like it just being on the bus with these guys and being in the clubhouse, and Tom Holliday being like, "Hey kid, like where you been all summer?" Like I was like, that's a cool moment I'll never forget. Like, and I was like, "Hey, like I've been around, you know. I had a really good season."
Yeah.
But what is my season compared to like everybody there? Is the top of the top. Power 5 guy, ACC, SEC players. You know, I'd be like platooned, which means I'm coming off the bench to face a specific guy because I was a righty, so I would fit like the matchup. Just everything I face is upper 90 with 4 pitches in the zone. You know, I was bringing up my sword, and not even my bat. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just fun. It was just a great time. And there was like like everybody was like picking up my dad's story and just kind of how that propelled me and stuff like that, like interacting with the people. Like it was just a beautiful town, beautiful place to be.
I guess you were staying in touch with your dad and your family, kind of calling back home, staying in touch with them.
Yeah, and you could watch the games on TV and stuff.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So they got a chance to check it out. Cool. And that's cool. And now is your brother, Mike, is back home at this point? Or no, he's still home. Okay, cool. So he's still there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're up in the Cape playing, staying in touch with them, doing what you're doing, really enjoying the experience. You know, it's cool because you said 2 things. Like, you're, like, almost questioning, like, damn, how am I here right now? I'm with all these guys. Like, mm-hmm. And I think that's a common thing people go through is when they get to a point where they're playing with such – when they're in a certain situation that they may have thought they – we're never going to be in.
Yeah.
And they've done all this hard work. They've performed and they get there. It could be anything. Like I was talking to Jason Keats. He's a really talented DJ and he's an entrepreneur. DJ is just the start of it, you know? But he was talking about when he played HQ for the first time in AC and, you know, he walks out and everybody, I mean, that club is massive. It's huge. And he walks out and he's having that same moment that you had. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
But then he said something to me, and he was like, you know, I took a step back and deep breath, and I said, you know what? This didn't happen by mistake. Like, I'm supposed to be here. And when he told me that, it was almost like I wish I could have gone back to moments where I felt like that and said that to myself. Because, like, you think about everything you just described and what you're, like, if people actually go and look at the numbers you put up during that season, like, there's, without a doubt, you were not up there by mistake. Like, you belong there. Yeah. You belong playing with those guys. Yeah. And that season revealed it. And it's just tough when maybe you haven't played against that level of competition before or been with those guys that are playing these, you know, guys coming out of the pen, 4 pitches, 97 fastball, you know, everything's moving like a curveball, you know. But I just think, like, that when he said that, I just kind of, it made me want to go back to some of those times and been like, hey, this isn't a mistake. I'm supposed to be here. And you were supposed to be there. And as the story goes on, we're going to find out more. So now you have another year of eligibility left when you get back. So what happens? How much time do you have when you get back from the Cape before you go back down to SCU?
Just a few weeks.
So you're back home with family.
Yeah.
And you're gearing up to go back down to SCU.
Yeah.
Now, this will be the first full year you're there with the situation with your father.
Yes.
Okay. So what was that like talking to your family, like, knowing that you were going to be leaving?
Yeah, there was some other opportunities, actually. Like, some other places reached out and wanted me to transfer. But I was like, nah, this will be my fourth transfer. Like, I'll go back.
So there were other teams that were reaching out to try to get you? Okay.
There was. So some Northeast teams and stuff. And it made sense. Like, it would be closer to home. But, the momentum of winning a World Series, you can't really, like, All-American, like, and I love the community, so yeah, I go back but just something changes, and this is really important, like what you said, like it wasn't a coincidence that I was in the places I was in, or the healing I went through and the success I had. But now, for my whole career, I never thought I was anything, but now I go back and in the fall there, I think I'm something. So now confidence is a good thing, but when it's all about you and like it becomes cocky, it's not a good thing. You become a bad teammate. You don't treat people with the utmost respect, and that's not me. Like, so my the coaches felt some type of way and they brought a transfer in. So now, like, I played left field my whole junior year. I was the DH mostly my senior year. So, DH, left field. And this just hurt, like, my draft stock, Like, baseball people would understand that, like, the size I am and was, like, second base ideally, for the power numbers and stuff. Being in the outfield, size-wise, a little undersized. So, and I had a unique style of hitting and stuff. So it's not the most like appealing thing, but the numbers were there. So I was getting traction. People were coming to see me. And, back to that humble word and the always the Lord was always bringing me down. So now, now I'm following the Lord now for like 3 years. And I started, like, the season starts and I was off to a really tough start. For the first month, I was hitting like under 150. Almost to the point now, like, my coach was really having a tough time writing me in the lineup. So, like, I go from All-American, Cape Cod, draft guy, everybody knows who I am. I can't even, like, I'm fighting to get on base. I'm fighting to get in the lineup. But, I don't know, just the Lord knew what I needed. Like, one day at practice, and, like, I'm so down, right? I'm so down and out. I'm, like, really, like, I'm, like, almost to the point again where I'm, like, throwing the towel in, because I was just really struggling.
Yeah.
That first, like, month and a half of the season. But one day at practice, this guy Donnie comes and he, like, runs the team. He's like the manager or whatever. But USA Baseball sent something in, and I was a preseason All-American, but they sent something in. They go, oh, like, hey, one of you guys was selected for the Golden Spikes watch list, which is now the top 51 players in the whole country. Now, just think about that. So you got junior college, you got NCAA, 3 levels, you got NAIA. 51 players out of every single college baseball player, I was on that list. And, like, all the discouragement and all the, like, I was in that failure of just, like, struggling so bad. I was like, oh. It kind of gave me my mojo back. And then I started breaking out of the slump, and I get my numbers. It wasn't the same kind of year I had before. It's hard to replicate what I did, but, I still helped my team win. We go back to the World Series. I I hit around 350 and I homered 11 times. So it wasn't a bad year at all.
Great year.
Great year. So, but something really cool, and I'm forever grateful for Southeastern for this. Like a week or two, because you have a break before you go back to the World Series, they felt it was on their hearts to invite my dad to come, and my parents. They flew them out, and they raised some money to come out and come and see me play in the World Series. My dad hasn't seen me play in now almost 2 years.
That's right. I remember, because I remember they started the GoFundMe. They were trying to raise money.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking to you, and the amount of support you got was just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I guess,
amazing.
you know, so many people were, you know, there to support and end up just totally raising more than what you needed and to get them there. And then that covered all, like, food and stuff like that. I remember you saying it was great because, you know, obviously getting there is one thing, and then you got all the expenses once you're there. So, you know, for him to get a chance to go out there and see you play, and just for people to, you know, get your back like that,
Yeah,
it means something.
it was cool.
You know?
It was cool.
So he gets to go out there, hasn't seen you play in, what is that now? A year and a half, 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And so he gets a chance to go out there. Your whole family's out there, right? And
Well, just my mom and my dad.
yeah, your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're out there watching you play in the World Series. I mean, that's got to be priceless, eh?
It was something. And game one and second at bat, big time homer coming around and Pops is, you know, my dad is standing up and fist up, man. And it just like I broke down, and it was an emotional moment, but you know, just grateful he could see that, grateful that he was there, and you know, seeing his son do his thing and kind of, you know,
That kind of moment, those emotions, there's no way that anybody can know what that feels like unless they've gone something
yeah.
through something similar. Like, to put that in, like, I can't even imagine it right now, because you think about going back to how he was your number one guy all throughout your career, taking you to all the games, barely missed any games, even when you were down, and sees that he's going down. That happens. He can't watch you play, you know, and people who have, you know, a relationship with, you know, a family member through sports, a lot of the times you see, like, on all these, you know, I don't want to say like the 30 for 30, but all these special, you know, things they run on ESPN and all that. Sports have such a ability to bring people together.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, when you're talking about a father and his son, and then you hit that home run, going around third base, you see the fist up. Like, I mean, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I don't think anybody can really grasp what that feels like unless they've been through something similar like that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, just for my dad to like be paralyzed and to be like see him such a strong man, and then this weaken him. You know, he was like, he always worked and always worked hard, and just to see that all taken away, like his whole life was basically just flipped upside down, and just like we talked about earlier, just continuing to have a great spirit, just still a great father, you know, and just to be able to, it was like almost like, just thanks for everything, Dad. Like, thanks for just being able to just standing by me, and like, thanks for all the things you put into me to become this great player at the end of my career. You know, and I still have a couple years left, but like, you know, college, those last 2 years were like, you know, defining moments and big moments and a lot of success, and I couldn't have done it without him. So that moment, just all in one, was that. It was just like solidified. It was just beautiful.
It's a magical moment.
It was very emotional. It was, yeah.
So you guys play in the World Series. You don't win the World Series that year?
We don't win it that year.
Okay. So you guys play in the World Series. You get back. Season's over. What is going on with you in terms of playing and, you know, your I guess your mindset of where you're going to go from there?
Yeah. I thought I'd get a chance in the draft or undrafted free agent, but I didn't. And so what was next is indie ball. Like, I still wanted to keep playing, keep trying. So I got a contract in Michigan. So I played for the East Side Diamond Hoppers. And kind of yet again, it felt forced. You know, it felt forced, kind of like the New England League, I wanted to go home and be with the fam. Like, I really did. And it just wasn't, there's 2 leagues in indie ball that are good, like really good, really high level, to give you a chance to get into affiliated, which was ultimately the goal. Like, I just wanted to play professional baseball. And I was being paid in this league, but it was just a lot. I was like, I thought I did everything I could to be drafted or hear my name called, and I didn't. So it was a little discouraging, but I wasn't going to give up. Like, I had to yet again regroup. And so I go home, I leave that league. So I left that league that summer, and I had one more semester to get my degree. So, that's where we really connect, is that this fall. So, I leave pro ball and come home. Yeah. And then that fall comes, I finish up my semester, and in the end of it, I come home, and then I start working at Reds, and I start working at a baseball facility by me.
Yep.
The ballpark. I was over there, and in that whole time, there was an NAIA coach who then is in the Frontier League, Windy City. So in that winter, I signed with the Windy City Thunderbolts. So that's the Frontier. So.
Yeah, so this is where our story picks back up.
Yeah.
So there's that whole time frame. Everything you just said so far, we have been in contact, but we haven't been as close as we are now.
Yeah.
And so you come back from Michigan, and that was the fall of 2018, correct? Or 20...
Now we're in
2019?
I guess.
Must have been 2019.
Yeah, coming up on 2020, yeah.
Yeah, so this is... Yes, okay, so this was the year we opened Reds New Brunswick.
Yes.
So we are, we are gearing up to open this new spot in Reds New Brunswick. And our story reconnects. This is after I have already trained Mike Anone. So the 310 to Yuma is an existing program, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously to this point, I know your story. I know what happened with your dad. And, I know what happened with your career, what's going on. And so you go to play Michigan, you come back, and you still want to play, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm running the bar, very busy, have a lot going on. It wasn't the same as it was, at the latter 2 years, it was a little different time. But we connect, and we start training.
Yeah.
So I'm like, listen, my buddy Mike, I trained him. We did this whole program. I put it together. It's a different style of training than what you are used to. You're used to that athletic training style.
Yeah, 6 years of that.
Yeah, and so I'm like, listen, it's worked for me. At that point, I was in amazing shape. You saw what Mike had done because I was showing you, look what he went from this to this. Now, what's important for people to know is Mike's story and your story in terms of being forgotten and kind of pushed under the rug and not given a chance, very similar in the baseball career. Yeah. And you talk about Anone was also on some draft boards. Like, he was getting looked at, and then he gets hurt, and then he just gets forgotten. So we trained that whole year, comes back, has an amazing season. We start training together, and we start hanging out a lot because our schedule, for some reason, lined up. Because at that point, I was training at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Because, Reds would close and I'd go work out after. Bar closes at 2 a.m., whatever, and I'd go work out after. And for some reason, our schedules, like, we were going and working out. It just happened to work out where we would be able to lift together.
Well, yeah, I'd help you close the bar or help you open or something.
Yeah. So, and then eventually you start working at Reds, and then there's certain nights where you're working, we'd close up, clean, and then go work out.
Yeah.
And at that time, it just happened to work out where we were able to do that together for a long period of time. And so we'd start becoming closer, and we start training, and you end up signing to go play. And so now we know you're going to play.
Yeah.
We have a clear vision of what we could do with the training, and that style of training clicks for you, and you start getting bigger. And you're like, I'm feeling great. Swing feels amazing. And now we come up to March of 2020.
Yeah.
right? So this is when the pandemic hits.
Yeah, the COVID. Yeah.
So when that hits, we were training and we were gearing up for you to go play.
Yeah.
And what was going on, like, when that all happened, what happened with, the Windy City team? Like, were you supposed to go out and play still?
Yeah, I was supposed to go. And then they put the COVID closed that league down.
Yeah, canned the whole season.
And the whole season.
So now we're training for this. That gets canned. Here we are, nothing in sight, no clear vision when we had this whole plan mapped out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's just keep training. Like, if anything, let's just keep training and see what happens. Now, at this point, it's hard to keep training because eventually they shut everything down. And luckily, we were able to keep going. And we found a way to work out. And we were able to keep hitting, throwing, doing everything.
Right.
And I think what was going through your mind? Because I do remember there was a time where you were like, what's even the point of doing this? Because, you go through what you went through. You're having this chance to play at the professional level, probably going to get drafted, go play Michigan, doesn't work out. You're back training, get another opportunity. We start working out consistently. We're gearing up to go. Then the pandemic hits and it's all canned.
Yeah.
Was there ever like doubts of whether or not you should keep going with the training?
Yeah, I mean, I started doubting it all. Basically because I'm like almost at the point where I'm like, should I just start my real life? Because I'm financially in a tough spot. I'm financially in a tough spot. So, I start working at Reds and I start working at this baseball facility. And I was liking the baseball facility, just being around the young players and being able to, coach them up. I wasn't really in a coaching role. I just kind of oversaw everything. I was making consistent money. And that's something like when you're in college playing ball, that's your full-time thing. You're not being paid. And then half a season of pro ball where you're getting basically paid poverty. like it's
nothing.
It's nothing. I was like, this is nice. Like being able to like support myself. So yeah, that's and also, through that time I started when we were training, like I was starting this Bible study. I was like getting people on Zoom and COVID and just kind of connecting with like all my connections. Like we were just really going for it there. So that was really cool. Like through a tough time where people, we didn't know, like it was pretty, COVID was a fear, a lot of fear in the world,
and a lot of questioning. And I do remember actually you saying that because your faith was something that stayed with you throughout this whole time.
Yeah.
I think that's important to point out for people because, we stopped talking about it, but it didn't leave. The faith is still with you. And so we're trying to plan these workouts during the pandemic. You can't go to church. I mean, like it's like you can't go anywhere. You can't see anybody. But you start these classes online, and so I knew that it was important to you, and so we would schedule around. It's not like we had anything else to do. So I remember like you would have the meetings, during the night or whatever, and then we'd go train. We'd try to train before so you had enough time. Sometimes we go after. But then it starts getting a little crazy with the schedule, I remember. And so we end up, we're training every day, and I think me too, like the questioning of what the hell was going to happen was like just in my mind the whole time, like just from the Reds perspective. I'm like, damn, like, are we ever going to open the doors again? And so that summer is the summer of 2020. We end up going different ways in terms of training. We were training together every day. We had become very close that entire 6-7 months we were together. Yeah. And I just remember, I'm so into the training and so dialed in, like I'm on it. And it was at the point where you were very interested in doing the training, doing the workouts, but the level of intensity that I was putting into it and the hours we were spending was not ideal for your training situation. That wasn't how you were used to training. So we have a discussion, I remember in the car, and you're like, listen, I love these workouts. I love doing them. You go for hours on end in here. You could be here for 4 or 5 hours, whatever. Me, I like to get in an hour workout and get out. That's for me. So at this point, we go, okay, well, I'll try to find a different spot I can work out. And you keep doing the program. You have the program. Let's stay on it. And we talked every day still. Remember, we had the group chats with the Castro, Marzano, B-Rad, the whole squad. Every day we'd wake up. What was that app that everybody was on?
The Coop in the Lot.
The Coop in the Lot, 24/12 with the SWAT, dude. We were just, dude. I mean, we had so many good times, and we're just chopping it. And, oh, buddy, I mean, we were laughing for days. And thank God, because that time people didn't have anybody, So it's like, thank God we had each other to do, go through. And then, of course, that's where you really became friends with Terrence, too. And that's how Corey and I met, initially back in the day was through Terrence. They're best friends as well. So now, you meet Terrence. He's a very spiritual guy. He starts offering this different perspective. And, man, I mean, we'd all be talking on the phone, laughing all day. And, like, I'm very grateful we had, that outlet because – a lot of people didn't. And it was good to just have some friends to talk to. And, after we were training and we stopped training together, but continued the program, Terrence and I were doing yoga. And so, Terrence and I started doing yoga every day and things like that. And then the opportunity to play comes back up, correct?
Yeah.
So when does that come around? So this is the summer you play for the Patriots.
Yeah.
So how does that happen?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, like, Red was so instrumental, and not just my career here, like at this point, but just like life in general, like the discipline and the diet and the intensity and I've had trainers in the past, but to really do life with someone that was just so dialed in was huge, to see that the program and how my body was taking to it. And, I was putting up numbers, putting on real
huge numbers,
was putting up size, and it really was good. Really, really grateful for him and our friendship. It was just really, I mean, it really made that time not even feel like we were going through something. We had each other, and it was really awesome. It's like through that and how life lined up, like brother for life, and just a friendship that will go on forever. Like, you don't have many people in your life that we don't need to do anything. Like, we just there's just mutual respect, love, and it's just really awesome. There's just a few people, like everybody, if you just have like a couple of those people in your life, you just need to cherish them, because it's like even now, months and months can go by, but it's like when we connect, it's just no time passed.
Yeah, it's a special type of relationship that I am also extremely thankful for, because there's not many people you get in this life, that you're able to have that kind of relationship with. Yeah. And still to this day, it's something where we don't even have to talk for a while. And then we could pick right back up, and we're laughing. And I mean, I don't even think we said a word before you walked outside. We're just cracking up laughing, It's like, so and that whole time period right before the pandemic hit is where it started and built. And then throughout the pandemic, just having that first whatever amount of time it was where we were together every day going through it and helping each other, that was huge.
Yeah.
And that specifically, going through that with you, I think is the reason why to this day our relationship is so strong.
Yeah.
I mean,
amen to that. That's
because good. It's especially just talking about the pandemic in general, that was like no one could have seen that coming. And the questioning and all that. And then we find each other and we're able to, it was a wild, wild journey. And thank God, your man upstairs, that we were able to have each other for that,
Yeah.
And then, of course, that summer, you end up playing for the Patriots.
Yeah.
So where along the way did that happen?
Yeah, so now it's so funny. Like, May comes, and on your program, you have abs involved, but I got this like real sore pain, right? And remember, like, I got my appendix removed.
Oh, that's right.
Right? That was like a whole thing. Like, when you get your appendix removed and you have appendicitis, you're usually in and out. I spent a week in the hospital because it was so infected, and nobody could see me because it was COVID.
Oh, my.
So,
dude. Yeah.
But it's just crazy. Like, through my journey, like, the Lord is just continuing to equip me. Like, he equipped me for that time. Like, I really was in such a strong place in my faith that really I was unfazed. I really was unfazed. And it was great. And it was just like another test that I just walked right through. And come out of that, and because, you know, Palsy had me on this program, I was strong, eating good, I was able to recover like so quickly. I recovered in like a week from surgery, and then I'm back lifting on the program. Then I get the call to go try out for the Patriots. They want to do a test league, about like 15, 16 games. Some of the top talent, pros, all pros, and, you know, come try out, make the team. So that's what I did. I went and tried out, made the team. They had what was that other squad called? What was the other team called?
I have no clue. I remember my one buddy that I played against in college was on it. Played middle infield.
Yeah, what is the name of that
I
team?
have no
The
clue.
Flames, right?
Something like that.
Blazers. I don't know. So
yo, you know what though? Talking about the appendix thing real quick, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I do remember going back and forth because remember it was like for like a couple weeks that you were talking about this pain. And we're trying to figure it out because you're right. You mentioned the whole diet plan and the fitness plan. Like we went through it and we mapped it out, and we had thought maybe it was something you were eating. Like you were like, I don't know, like maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And we couldn't figure it out. We tried substituting different foods in for this and that. And then all of a sudden you FaceTime me or text me, you're in the hospital. I'm like, what the heck? But I'm
like to my mom and dad and brother, I'm like, you need to bring me to the hospital. They're like, no, you can't.
I remember
They can't. It's the pandemic. And I'm like, you need to bring me.
Yeah.
7 days they don't see me because, you know, thank the Lord I went in.
I remember when we FaceTimed you said, buddy, I mean, I was telling him for days to take me here. And I was so surprised, too. I was like, geez, you know, like, because we really couldn't figure it out. And then you're all of a sudden you're in the hospital, you know, and
terrible.
We're laughing and we're talking. And, again, it was also good because I think we were still on that whole night, you know, shift schedule. Yeah. So, you know, I was up all night, so we got to talk and whatnot. But so then you go and you play for the Patriots, and just to bring it back, this opportunity came out of nowhere. Like,
nowhere.
Who saw this? Nobody. Like, all of a sudden they're going to try to put together a league for the summer because everything was shut down still, and they're like, oh, well, outdoors is okay, and if you went to the beach, you know, by us, it was like you didn't think anything was going on. Everybody's out there riding bikes, they're on the beach, catching a tan, solidifying, and this opportunity pops up out of nowhere. You go and try out and make it, and what was the schedule? It was 2 games every weekend?
Yeah, 2 games every week. You practice a few times a week. And you had to get COVID tested all the time.
Yeah. Now, the Somerset Patriots, for anybody who doesn't know, at that point were still part of the Atlantic League. Which is like the highest level of independent baseball. I mean, they're up there. Frontier League's up there. There's a couple other ones. Mm-hmm. American Association's pretty good. But, you know, the Frontier and the Atlantic are 2 very good ones, and the Atlantic's like the top dog.
Yeah, for this region.
Yes,
yeah,
I mean that's it. And you know, a lot of guys who are almost going to sign to affiliated ball are there, and a lot of guys who just got released from affiliated ball are there, still trying to get back on another team. So it's a good mix of competition, good mix of players, pros, guys who are aspiring to get there, and you get this opportunity to go play, and we're like, okay, all right, we got some baseball this summer, we're good, like we got something to go do. And so then, you know, I start getting to go up to these games. Now, it was still like limited capacity in the stadium. You know, they weren't selling out the games or anything like that. It wasn't packed. But there were enough tickets where you could go and it was accessible. And, you know, I got to end up going to a few games and enjoy some baseball that summer. I mean, for me, you talk about baseball has always been my number one thing. So it's like when nothing else was going on and we had nothing, Reds is closed, I get some baseball to go watch, you know? And it was like amazing, you know? And I just remember Dano, buddy, you know? And that's when, you know, a lot of people know the term no other way. You know, I say no other way. And, you know, all my guys that, you know, when that became our saying, like that, Brother Dan brought that into play here. And we just ran with it. You know me with as Keats, I mentioned him again, he said, you know, your Reddisms. He calls them the Reddisms, you know? No other way. We picked it up and ran with it, you know? And that was ayo, and I was in the stand. I go, no other way, and somebody finishes it. They go, ayo, you know, after, and we're laughing. You know, we got, you know, I remember the one game we went Marzano, B-Rad, who else was DeCastro. Like we all went to the game, and B-Rad's yelling. You're walking up to the plate, and you're fresh off the 310, just absolutely juiced.
And tan,
massive.
so,
Just looking big. And all those guys are like, damn, what has Valerio been doing? I said, what is he doing? The 310 of Yuma, baby. That's what he's been doing. They're all laughing. And you're walking up the plate, and B-Rad just yelling. He goes, swole body. Swole body. We're just having a time. They're talking shit, and we're just, it was so fun. And in that time, I think it was so huge to have that, especially baseball. It's a game we all grew up playing.
It was so good.
I remember that first game when we went. They came. We went to another game with them, but that first game I went and we were just. I remember I was yelling, just chirping some of our sayings from the stand, and you're cracking a smile over at first base. And I mean, at that point, you were swinging it. I mean, you were facing guys that were, ex-major leaguers at that point. That's who's playing on these caliber teams. It was a mix. It was a cool mix that summer just because of the situation everybody was in. So there was a lot of guys who actually got a really good opportunity out of that to play against some high-level competition that they might not have been able to otherwise.
Yeah. This is where it really...
Yeah, I mean, and this is the first time you're playing after doing the program.
Yeah.
And you're just massive, like way bigger. Your speed is still there because at this point, I was still hitting legs at this point. Now I'm retired. I don't do leg day anymore. But we're doing the leg workouts still.
We are.
And we're training, speed and agility with that. In those
the
workouts,
ladders,
the box jumps,
Dan Onis
inspired. Dan Onis inspired, baby, the ladder work, the footwork, and I guess it's going back, it's Kevin Hawk inspired, and then Dan Onis inspired. We
used to train there.
Yeah, used to train there. Yeah, we did, and
PVCs on the feet,
and so you're just the biggest you've ever been. You're still fast because you always had the speed. I mean, you're fast. You're stealing bases. You're the first baseman stealing, and it's just. You're playing at this high level against these guys and really proving that you belong on the field with them. And it's cool to see, especially, we got it on, I have it on my camera. The same camera that's in the middle right here that's viewing, that was the camera that I bought to vlog the first game. And, I'll have to clip it in for the clip right here. But, that first at bat, just fucking smoked it through the 6-0, line drive. The guy's throwing 95, and then you're just hitting it. Now, there was a point after a few games where they said that you tested positive and you couldn't play, correct?
Yeah.
So what happened with that?
So I just had to take a week off and retest, and then I was able to play the rest of the season.
And they were testing what, like every day? Or like whenever you went to practice?
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
What was the practice schedule like?
Just we would just take BP and a bunch of ground balls, and, Brett Jody was our manager. He played for the Yankees, and then he was with Somerset for about 7 years. So just being around just such a professional environment, was really, really incredible.
Yeah, I remember his confidence in you was something that was huge because, and I talked about this with the known too, like the Pecos League manager that gave him a shot was like, you know what, we're going to give you the shot, like it's you. We got it. I believe in you. You could do it. And at that time, again, it was a time where a lot of people were questioning what was going on, what we're doing. You mentioned you were like, am I even going to play again? You don't even know. And then you get this guy who really believes in you, gives you a chance against these, guys who played at the highest level. And I think you just ran with that. I think it was just like...
for him to even put me in the 4-hole, in front of some guys that have now made up to AAA position player-wise, it was really cool, humbling. But now... after going through the 310, feeling stronger than ever, I found the program that fit my body type. I encourage all baseball players that, it's not just one way. There's not one way of doing it. You got to find what works for you. The thing that gives you the confidence. And that's what, Pals Red, Last Living Red did for me. You showed me a plan and you spoke life into me. And from there, that Somerset, even though I had the All-American year, where I really felt like I was a professional. I really felt that I belonged. I felt strong, And at 23, things were really, I was clicking on all cylinders. With the wood bat now, the metal and collar, wood and barreling it up, consistent, stealing bags, really making things happen. It really... Yeah, I think I finished over 300. And
then so now we find ourselves going into the 2020-2021 school year. So So that's how I describe it, because I'm obviously getting ready to gear up back for Reds. So the summer ends. You have that amazing season, one for the books, one that we both cherished. I mean, just being able to watch and see it all, come to fruition, what we worked for, when at one point we didn't even think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. And I'm gearing up to get ready to go back to Reds. And it was funny because that whole summer, a lot of the people that I met at Reds that were from the East Brunswick area had the shore houses in Manasquan. So, you met those guys a bunch, and they you just can't. I mean, you had Fox, Troy, B. Brown, and Buddy Ruth. Just four. I mean, and there's so many more in that crew, and amazing people. And they welcomed me as family. And they had been coming to Reds before we got shut down, which was cool. I met them on Thanksgiving Eve originally. And I remember you came to the house a few times. And those guys were just, that's where No Other Way really took off, because they loved that. They loved that. Every response that I would send them texts, all caps, getting fired up, and they'd respond with all caps, No Other Way. Like, it was just where it happened. And so going into the school year now, I'm gearing up, and I have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we've been closed for 6 months. Rutgers is online. Pandemic's still out and about. Summertime was warm. Everybody's outside. Now it's getting cold again. COVID's running rampant at this point. It's going all around. People are catching it. It's cold. Starts rolling. And, I'm just wondering what's going to happen. But that's where Reds takes off. Now, you were there for the beginning of that year when it was more open. Like, I remember I was just letting whoever in, and it was wild. Yeah. And we were there, and I remember texting you. I'd be like, buddy, I need you to come watch. There's actually people around. There's actually kids that are coming in. Yeah. And so you would come up and just hang out for the night, and security, and got to meet everybody, and that was right at the beginning, and then things got serious, and they were coming in every day, and it was like at that point it ended up just being Rutgers that whole year, and that's where we end up for this whole time period where even when we stopped training together, we're talking every single day. Yeah. That fall, we weren't able to see each other from the summer when we were. You're playing, I'm coming to watch you play. Remember, your dad came up to the game with me. I got that video. I got to clip it in right here. Unbelievable. I said, if Brother Dan goes yard, we're sending it to Jays.
Yeah, and,
he was laughing. He had the the headband going. But this is the point where we're we start falling out of touch in terms of everyday communication.
Yeah.
And now things are just getting so crazy with Reds that's taking my full attention. And so this is the part of the journey where our friendship is, I wouldn't say tested, because it's not like we ever doubted, but really looking back, that's where the relationship gets tested, is when you stop talking to these people every single day, when you go from seeing somebody, when you go through a journey like we went to, together that whole year before. Now we're at a point where we're not even talking every day, and Reds is just, my head is just going crazy every day. I got so much I'm dealing with, and so many people are hitting my phone. I can't even keep up with all the texts, the calls, what's going on, when can we come? Red, we got 3 people. Are we able to come right now? What's happening? Like every day, and so that's why I kind of lose contact with a lot of the people that I was close with. Not that I ever doubted we wouldn't be friends still, but you're not talking to these people every day like you were. I had so much on my plate.
Yeah.
And so into the following summer, do you play that following summer? Because this was now we're talking about, I remember sporadically, we still were staying in touch and talking every once in a while, but we're trying to figure out an answer because the Patriots get taken over by the Yankees, correct?
Yeah, so that went up right to the last day where they made that decision. Guys were going to stay. I was going to come back. They asked me to come back, and end of November they made the
switch,
that deal.
And then that's why Jody wasn't going to be the manager.
Yeah. So Jody got fired, the whole staff. They renovated the whole spot. Yankees came in from Trenton. They moved over to Somerset. Because Somerset, even if you were playing, it was indie ball, but you could make a career out of it because it was just so, they treated you so well, and thousands of people. Everyone knew. Everyone knows what Somerset Patriot baseball is in New Jersey. But from my journey, from playing there, my coaching career takes off.
So this is where that picks up. So now you start coaching, and you're doing what? Individual lessons or teams?
I'm doing one-on-one, and I have a 15U team.
Okay, so you're doing team coaching and one-on-one lessons.
Yeah.
Now, I remember at some point, like, you end up realizing, like, hey, this is really going well for me. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Where, you started that fall?
I started that fall.
And so where along the way, like, once you started coaching, how long was it before you realized you were able to connect with these kids and really pass on the knowledge and inspiration to them?
Yeah. I mean, well, number one, like, when I'm in that zone of coaching, it's not the pressure of playing where you're like, this is all about me. It's like all the experiences, the calling on my life, and it just like, and it just comes out, and it's just like I'm just able to just, be there for the kids, call them higher, like raise their standards. I'm not their parent, so it just is heard differently. And I'm just big on it, especially like nowadays, like these kids need outlets, they need support. They're so confused.
It really is a time where, and even talking just baseball specifically, Mike says it all the time, Mike Condon. He's like, nobody's even coaching them anymore. He's like, nobody's telling them what they need to be told.
Yeah.
And it's a tough time. And I think, when you were telling me how well it was going, I really wasn't too surprised because I could tell that the connection you were having with the kids that you were instructing, like the one-on-one lessons, I think especially because like you really get to connect with that individual kid when you're giving him the lesson. Like coming from somebody who played the game at the level you played at, performed the way you performed, not just because it's important to point out that not everybody who played at a level like that is a good coach. And when you were telling me how it was going, when we were able to, talk in between the times where obviously that was a time where Reds was just nuts because we're talking now, pandemic, all the everything's lifted, like Reds is packed every single night. It's like crazy. And, the times that we were talking, we got to catch up and you were explaining to me and I could tell by the way you were saying it, I could feel it, like this was okay. And you kind of felt like, all right, this is what I should be doing. In some way, shape, or form, I need to be connecting, inspiring, and instructing because I feel like I could do that, to a level that I think a lot of people can't, And I agree because I have seen it in action. I've seen you do the one-on-one lessons. And it's like, especially just the knowledge, being able to communicate the knowledge that you have about baseball and then your story. I mean, they're getting what they need to be getting from someone like you, whereas in other people and what's going on in the current state of coaching, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
How have you seen, when you're coaching these teams, I just remember you telling me certain stories about when you're on the field and you're watching what's going on in the dugout and you see what's going on. Like, where along the way does it click where you're like, okay, like these kids do really need direction?
So what I see, like the biggest thing is, and the biggest thing that took place in my career was a change of heart. So when I coach, I try to coach and create an environment where there's love there, right? So like there's a respect there before anything. Then there's the accountability. Then there's you're just not doing it good enough. But I never do that without building that relationship. You know what I'm saying? And so I just see the demographic nowadays is just everybody just either wants to yell or not say too much. Yell or not say too much. Like, you just build rapport. Like, just build the rapport with the guy. Care about him. Care about the kid. Like, just check in. Check in. Get out of your way. Let the ego go. Your career's over. Career's over. Once you turn the page and you say, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, your career's over. It's no longer about you. DV training was birth with the mentality, and it will never change, player first. It's about the player. It's about the parent. It's about the people. And in return, you get, you get reimbursed with that. Like, but at the end of the day, like, that's just the biggest thing. Like, club to high school, high school. That's where I'm going to just speak on that because that's where I'm in. That's my area. I just see a lot of that. See a lot of belittling and just like not standing in the gap for what these kids need,
Yeah, and when you're young and coming up in the game and you're that impressionable, to have somebody who's actually doing it the right way, it's priceless.
Yeah.
Because it's what you're getting. And again, it kind of goes back, if we're looping it back to the beginning when you're talking about your coach Valley.
Yeah.
Like, they may not even know right now, but down the line, they're going to be like, damn, all of that was for a reason. And now that I'm here in this position, because I went through that, because I had that direction, because I had somebody who was pushing me and giving me the correct instructions, the correct direction of where I need to go with my game and as a person, that just prepares them to be in that spot.
Yeah. And I just love to see it. My favorite thing is, like, speaking life into a young player or holding him accountable and him making these, like, necessary changes. And then seeing him being able to just go out on his own, you know, and no longer need me. Like, I think that's a big thing too. Like, a lot of people try to hold on, but you train and you coach so that they become their best coach and their best trainer. From that place, sky's the limit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you have a story like yours and what you've gone through. I mean, you listen back to this whole entire episode, the adversity just continues to happen. And now you have a chance to pass on some of those lessons and help, you know, kids who are facing adversity or going through some of the things that you went through, and you can kind of talk from the other side of it.
Yeah.
Say, you know, I had these questions. I was always questioning why, and I didn't know why I was going through this. I didn't know what was going on, but, you know, this is what happened to me. This is what I went through, and here's what I was doing at that time. Here's what you can do. I think that direction is priceless, like I said before, and not every, you know, kid has the opportunity to get somebody like that. And it's interesting because at first I think a lot of the times, because even when I started training with a known, you know, like, and this has kind of been a common theme through a lot of the stuff you said, and just to speak it out, when I started training with a known, that was my first season where I knew I wasn't going to be playing baseball the following summer. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to get shredded. Like, I'm going to work out. I'm putting this program together. I know what I'm doing. I'm putting the program together. I'm going to follow it to a T, the diet plan, the training. I believe in myself, and I'm going to do it to get in great shape. And, of course, fitness was always part of my life, and it helps you with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But that's why I was doing it. And then, you know, Mike comes along, and we start training, and there becomes a bigger purpose. And, like, you don't even realize that some of the times when you start out with these type of things, like, even when you're at that point in your life where you're just trying things, you don't know where you're going, and you're like, all right, I love baseball. Let me try out these lessons. Let me start coaching, see if I like it. You know, I've always kind of wanted to go in that direction. And you're just starting out trying to figure out what you want to do, and now you realize there's a bigger purpose. Like, you feel like that was what you were meant to do, and then it was cool for me on my end, like in my story, to go through it with Mike and then have that part of the story where you and I reconnect, and we get to go through it again. And now I'm like, okay, there is a higher purpose. And that's why I think, you know, I was so into the training was not just about training. It was like about sticking to it. And I had seen it work for somebody before. I had seen it work for myself. So I knew if we had stayed consistent and continued to grind, then, you know, we were going to make to the other side. And then you see how kind of everything works out. It's something, again, like I said previously in this podcast, you can't really describe the feeling until you go through it. And when you feel it, you're like, damn, that really was all worth it. And that really was, you know, there really was something greater. There was a bigger reason for myself doing this than what I originally thought.
Yeah.
And here you are now, still coaching to this day, still doing the one-on-one lessons, correct?
Yeah, doing all that good stuff.
Yeah. What else is going on with you right now?
So, you know, I think it was like last February or something like that. Like, I was in this relationship. I moved out of my parents' house, and, you know, the training, the coaching has been so fruitful that, you know, financially it's been great and stuff like that. So it's been really cool to grow in that area as well, like start providing and start, you know, becoming more of an adult, more of a man. And, you know, I got in this relationship, and it was, you know, it was accelerating and everything was good, but I was giving a lot. And through that, I got distracted. You know, I kind of went all in and distracted on my purpose and my plan. And, you know, now I'm 6 years into this Christian walk, and the word says one thing, and I say one thing, I sound good in this one area, but over the past 10 months, what I realized is, like, the way I was trying to love her in this relationship, that's the way that I need to, love God and be all in with it, be all in. And that's what's happened over the past 4 or 5 months. I've let things go. I'm faced with another season of, like, some depression and stuff, because now it's like I'm trying to be a man. I'm doing all this stuff on my own, and I'm trying to have a relationship. I'm trying to have a job, and I'm not finding happiness in any of it. What's the problem? So now I've been through this stuff before, so it's not total panic, but all it was is just, like, giving it my all to the Lord, not through works and stuff, but, like, being obedient and letting the childish stuff go. That's really been big for me lately, and really he's strengthening me, and I'm getting more clarity on why I do things and what I'm doing and how I'm supposed to do them. And that's just so different. Like, the word is I'm being sanctified. Like, for 6 years, I've just been living in this story of God saved me. But now I'm starting to understand that, like, my part in it is. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's not just, like, the saving. It's like, okay, from that place, my life is supposed to look different. I'm supposed to live pure and live strong and stand ground and just be able to love unconditionally. I think stuff like that, like, that's just, and my life from there is just, it's really, like, I'm finding a lot of joy, and it's less of where I'm at. Like, I don't need anything. You ask where I'm at. I don't need a career. I don't need my old identity. I don't need finances. I don't need all this stuff that is the problem with the world today. Is everybody needs stuff. Everybody needs these certain things. Everybody needs these substances. Everybody needs these external stuff. What's been going on with me lately is just, like, my heart is being softened. I'm really starting to just step into, I feel, and I've shared a lot of what I've done, the real calling in my life. So I don't know what that looks like over the next few years, but as the Lord is strengthening me and getting rid of my desires, I'm going to really step into, I think I really feel what I'm supposed to be put on this earth for. I know baseball's been a part of it. I know coaching's been a part of it. I know, some teaching's been a part of it. I don't know what he has for me because I've never stepped into it fully. I've always been afraid of what that looks like because, what the world says. But I've tried it all. I really have. I've tried everything. Like, I've tried a lot of different jobs. I tried a lot of careers. I tried just living and being comfortable and settling. I'm done settling, and I'm just all in on really what 6 years ago when I was called out of North Carolina Central to come home to New Jersey and I gave my life to the Lord. I'm really stepping into that, and I'm giving that all and letting everything else kind of just go, man. So,
dude, I mean, just hearing you, just the emotion you feel when, the emotion that I feel through you when you say something like that, like, I just know it to be true. Like, I know that where you're at right now and where you're going, it's just that it's going to happen. And it was cool because we talked to each other again. I mentioned, like, we the communication where we go from talking every day to not talking every day. Yeah. We caught up just a couple weeks ago, and we find out we're both in a similar spot. Like, Red's just closed. Like, you just found out about that when I posted. Like, no one knew about that. And so now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't know what that looks like going forward, but I just got to trust that when we had Reds and I didn't know what was going to happen, I just showed up every day and I said, I'm going to do what I've always done. And you realize that there is a bigger purpose. You go for it, you show up, you do what you've always done, you feel is right, and things start to work out. And I think, you know, it's very interesting that we're both at a point right now where we're kind of following that path and going to see what happens.
Yeah. And it's just, like, for what it's worth, like, you play baseball and you're always on a team. You do life and whatever you do, you're always with people. You know, and I think that's the lesson I learned. Like, people, relationships, building relationships are the most important thing in life. You know, like, ultimately, the question I ask myself, I'm not married yet, but what do I want my wedding to look like? Do I want it to be full of people that just know me on the surface, or do I want them to know my heart? And do I want vice versa? I know their heart, and I'm contending for them. And yeah, if time goes by, we don't talk, but we still know that there's that mutual love. And that's just like, that's the life I want to live, you know, and that's the life that this world would just, you know, be a better spot if people just kind of, like, you know, let it be less transactional,
more about true relationships.
Yeah, I think that's what this whole conversation's been about, just transforming and seeing how we evolved. And
yet still to this day, here we are, getting to tell the story, you know? And it's like, I just try to hammer in that thing, you know, the idea of that we were together every single day for a while. Like, you're talking a year's time of just communication every single day. And then it goes to total opposite. But life takes you in different patterns or in different paths. And the ones, you know, all the people that really matter in your life, they always stick around through it all.
Yeah, that's so good.
And it's so true. And, you know, I'm fortunate that, you know, I have someone like you and a few other close friends. Like you said, you could count it on, you know, two hands. It's like, you know, that, what you just said about the relationships, I think for me, something I realized over the last few years, and that's where I want to continue to go with is really forming the real relationships with people that are going to last. And that's why I continue to say I love doing this, because I'm doing it with all the people that are my friends, the people I get to talk to. And every once in a while you get to do it with someone who you're really close with, and these kind of conversations happen. You know?
We always have the depth, man.
It's unbelievable. Wow. And I'm thankful. Before we even close this out, I just want to say I'm thankful for our friendship.
Yeah, so am I. I'm grateful. I love you, and it's great, man. You just, you know, you've always supported me, and you've always been there. Your family's always like just open, you know, the door to me, and, you know, it's been an awesome journey, and it's just the beginning, you know.
It really is. It's just the beginning. Yeah. We've already come so far. It's just the beginning.
Yeah.
As I would say, the oven ain't even hot yet, baby. Well, listen, buddy, thank you for having us here. I mean, this conversation was unreal. Corey's over there passing out. Guy's up at 5 a.m., got to deal with my schedule, waking up at 5 p.m., you know? But, I mean,
we let it go.
We let it fly. I mean, where are we at? We're an hour and a half, 2 hours. 2 hours almost.
2 hours 30, yeah.
I mean, but you cannot, even 2 hours doesn't do it. It's like you cannot shorten, you cannot put into time, you know, what our relationship means. And I'm glad we got to really, you know, take our time and lay a lot of it out there. So I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of good from what you went through, from your story, how you told it, and just, you know, where you're at now. A lot of people are really going to take inspiration from that. For sure. So thank you again for having us. Thank you again for, you know, coming on the Reddcast. This was an episode we've had on the books for years, before the Reddcast was even the Reddcast, baby.
I always said it. You're going to be at the top, brother.
Both of us.
Exactly,
both of us. Yeah. So, well, thank you again.
Thank you.
On that note, we're out.
We're out.
Let's go, baby. Yes, sir.